Okay, I usually don't get to throw the alley-oop here, but I know from the radio shows we've done from Around the Horn, David, how you feel about this very topic. So I'm throwing you the oop here. How big of a disaster was this Suns super team?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna say a mildly positive thing here. They were not a disaster as a super team because they never should have been considered a super team in the first place. Like, let's just get that out the way. They just were not a good team. Watching the Phoenix Suns this season, especially in the last month and a half, has been bad for my spirit. Like, this team, there are teams that are bad. Like, you watch the Wizards, you watch the Hornets, those teams are bad. I've never seen a team with this level of talent just not try, just do not care at any point over the last month, 2 months of this season. You watch them play defense. Look at this, like when Bradley Beal is guarding Steph and Steph hits a three, Bradley Beal is laughing like they're in a shoot-around. These guys do not care about what is happening on the court, and that is an insult to the game and an embarrassment to watch them play like this. Now, beyond that, you look at what Ishbia has done to this franchise. They had a young core that made it to the finals a few years ago, and he blew that young core up to go all in on Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. And what made it worse, he mortgaged their future for a team that was barely in play-in contention and is now not even going to crack the play-in. Like, this is a franchise. There's not many other franchises in the league that I would want to be less than. You look at how bad things are going with Philadelphia and the 76ers. If you told that front office that they now own the Phoenix Suns, they would jump out of a window. That's how bad the situation is with Phoenix. What they have right now is a situation where they have to move on from Kevin Durant and Devin Booker if they're going to salvage the bad decisions that they have made. Think about where you started this season with the hopes that this team could be in championship contention, and now they have to blow the whole entire thing up. This has been one of the market disasters that we have seen from a team of this level of talent that I've ever experienced in the NBA.
I mostly agree with you, David. I think Booker will stay. I don't think you move on from Devin Booker. Obviously, KD's time is probably up in Phoenix. The only asterisk that I will give them in terms of trying to find some silver lining and some grace on this is how injury-riddled the run has been. Mm-hmm. And I know that's only a modicum of grace because, to your point, there's been more bad basketball when they have been healthy as opposed to just blaming it all on injuries. I'm glad you brought Ishbia, though, because I very vividly remember when the Bradley Beal trade went down. We're chilling at the layout in Fort Greene Park, and literally I'm looking, and we're sitting there, and we all get this alert, and we go, how is this going to work? And it was a different conversation about there only being one basketball than there was when Luka and LeBron teamed up, right? And so I do think that there is this need for a review of what their goals are and to move a little bit more strategically. It felt like they just sort of grabbed whatever they deemed to be the shiniest, best available object, and it really wasn't. And not that, if we look at that graphic again, not that those guys are necessarily championship core, so to speak, although all have gone on to have great careers and they're terrific role players. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know who Chris Paul was, but it does feel like, in hindsight, some of this was very knee-jerk as opposed to having a strategy in terms of how you wanted to move forward. Mm-hmm. So the only thing I can offer is the injury piece. I don't think Phoenix is going to move on from Booker. He's sort of the centerpiece there.
Kevin Durant, the Suns 2-16 in games without Durant this season. And I know we talk about other super teams that he has been on. Of course, the 2021 Brooklyn Nets. That gets thrown out to the mix. And then there's this one. Windy, how do you view this? Like, is there one that might be worse than the other as far as Kevin Durant's legacy of teams that he's been on that have been even bigger of a disappointment than this?
Well, you trigger me whenever you bring up Kevin Durant legacy because I think his legacy is secure. But that's
agreed.
I'm just trying to stay calm this early day here in LA. The Suns are one of the best drafting teams in the NBA of the last decade. If you look at the way they built their team when they went to the finals in 21, where they were up 2-0, and then they had a 60-win team in 21-22, those were generally all guys they drafted. They drafted Devin Booker. By the way, not with the first or second pick. They drafted him like 12 or 13. They drafted Mikal Bridges. Actually made a draft night trade to get him. Great move. They drafted Cameron Johnson, where they drafted him. Nobody thought he would go where he went. I think he went 10th or 11th. People had him like 25th on the draft board. It was a great read of the market. They drafted a couple years ago this guy, Tumani Kamara, who they ended up trading to Portland. Now, you could bring up the DeAndre Ayton thing. They drafted DeAndre Ayton in the Luka Doncic draft. Not ideal. However, DeAndre Ayton was their franchise center.
Yeah.
There were a number of people who messed that draft up, and it wasn't like the guy can't play, okay? He was their franchise center, and they went to the finals. Anyway, Kamara is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate that they had to trade, but they had done a great job of drafting him. This year they drafted Ryan Dunn, one of the best picks in this draft, okay? This is a team that drafts extraordinarily well, and yet they are determined not to draft. And are they determined not even to keep their draft picks? And so when you say, was this a disaster as a super team, I don't think that speaks to it enough, because this team that they put together didn't work. But it's what they did to put the team together, which is take a beautiful thing they were building, explode that, and take something that they're really, really good at, which is drafting, and explode their ability to do it, to fix it. And then you can look at the fact that this payroll with taxes is $400 million.
Oof, yeah.
$400 million. It's the highest payroll we've ever seen, and it's a complete failure. And so this is what I want to talk about with Kevin Durant. And it's not where his legacy is. Was his legacy in 2021 over here, and his legacy in 2023 over here? The man is a champion, an MVP, and a two-time finals MVP. He doesn't need to dribble a basketball again to be one of the greatest all-time players. I don't care what anybody says. The Warriors don't win the championship in 2017 without him. And I don't care. There's literally nothing anybody can say to me that I will ever change my mind. So I'm going to back off of that and go back to the future. When it comes to what happens with Kevin Durant, because this is going to be a big topic of conversation for the next couple months, the Phoenix Suns have a reality that I don't even think they understand yet. And I don't think the fans are going to understand it either. When you look at the Kevin Durant trade, they're going to have to seriously consider trade Kevin Durant for flexibility. This is a new concept in the NBA. And I can understand you hear me say that and you go, what are you talking about? What are you talking about trade flexibility? I want 4 first-round draft picks. I want 3 great young players. I want a guy who's going to come and be on all. No, I'm telling you, they're going to probably have to seriously trade to Kevin Durant to get out of jail, meaning get out of the second apron, get their ability to maneuver and fix their roster. Because the reason this is so problematic is because they don't have the ability to mess with their roster. And I will tell you who has been one of the most successful teams of 2024-25. The answer is the LA Clippers. And the LA Clippers traded Paul George for flexibility. And you will say to me, they didn't even trade Paul George. They let Paul George walk away. There was no trade involved there. Yes, there was. They could have traded Paul George to the Warriors. They could have signed and traded him somewhere else. And they said, we can't be in the second apron anymore. The only way that we can fix our team is by getting flexibility back. And so they told Paul George, thank you and good luck to you. And they rebuilt their roster and retrofitted their roster around the stars that they still had with better pieces using the flexibility. And so I'm telling you, we're going to be talking about this a lot over the next